All right, so here's a situation that's not too uncommon. A student's opened up and they're seeing a message that says that I can't find these files right here, right? So if it says that it can't find the files, by the way, Willys is a old name for a Jeep, and Black Hawk is the helicopter, right? So instead of just doing continue, what you want to do is click on the word browse right about up here. So click on the word browse. Now, notice the external file paths are all on the C drive. It's not what we want. So what you can do is you can click on the word add right above my head here. Now, where are the images? Do you remember where they are? Go to the game programming drive, because right now you're on your C drive. Excellent. Touch A for art. Yep, open that up. Touch 3 for 3D. And then touch A for Army Materials Tutorial. Okay. Now, see where it says Add Subpaths at the bottom? Click on Add Subpaths, the little checkbox there, the very bottom. And then click on Use Path. You might have to click it a second time on Use Path. Sometimes you have to hit it twice. And then click on OK. Say OK again. That's just kind of saying that the network might not now notice the messages have gone away. Click on the word Continue. Now, if you zoom in on your items, they're there. Cool, huh? So touch M on your keyboard. I want to show you something. And if you're not watching me right now, students, please pay attention to what's going on here, because this is for your benefit. I want to show you how to change one of the Jeeps. So M on the keyboard and find the one for the Jeep. Do you know how to find a material in a scene that's in use? So one of the ways to do that is in this long spot here with all of the materials, there's a category that says scene materials. So if you scroll down, you'll see one that says scene materials. Open that up, and then it's by name. So we know one of them is the Willys. So look for the Jeep. See where it's got Jeep? Scene material number 2, it's got a 2 in it. Number 21. Double click on that. Now we're going to look at a material. There's 2 materials on here. There's a Jeep and a glass material. Now see the one that says Jeep? That's using a bitmap image. You can change that to the scorched version, which is a burnt up Jeep. Or you could modify it so that it has your name on it. Does that mean anything to you? It's okay to say no. Oh, no. Sorry. That's not what we mean. So we want to look at the image file. So we could do this work in Paint or in Photoshop, either way. You want to open up an image manipulation software if you're going to change it. Or we just find the node that points to that bitmap and we change a different version. So do you know how to find it in your material editor here? Let's maximize this material view so you can see better. Now, how do you find or work with this material? You can click and drag out and do an instance if you want to. If you grab number 21 and pull it out, you'll see a new version. Is that it right there? Excellent. So let's zoom in on that and let's take a look at the node that says map number something. Can you zoom in on that for me? Good. Keep going. What we want to do is the one above my head here, we want to have you double click on that so that you can actually look at the properties on it. And when you double click on it, notice what happens over here on the right. It's got a thing that says bitmap. So you can click on that and let's change this to extra large icons. Right above my head here, there's a thing that changes it to extra large icons. Do you know how to change the view? So I'll point to it with my finger right there. Click on that thing. Good. And now if you touch W for Willys, you'll go right to the Willys. But notice there's one called Scorched. Click on that one. And then do Open. Now if you look at your Jeeps, they're going to look like they were in a fire. They're all burnt up. And this is a great example because what we've done is all of the mapping is the same on that image file. So now if you were to render out the scene, you would notice the Jeep not only has a material on it, but it actually is looks like it's been burnt. You can see it a little bit in the preview here, but if you do a render, you'll really see that it's there. And so what I could do is I could actually grab one of those and edit it and put my name in it so that it's right there. This would be this is an optional customization. Oswin, it's great you did this much. You've got them in the scene, and you also learned how to actually change it. I'm going to stop the demo because not everyone's going to want to customize that, but I can do a demo on how to put your name on that texture, and I'll save that. Okay? Thank you for your help with that. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is a demonstration of how to customize one of the textures that shows up on something in the scene. We can use Photoshop, or if it's simple, we could even just use Paint. So I'm just going to simply paint a name onto the Jeep so that it shows up in the scene. Now we have to think in terms of the texture that's being used has been a flattened out version and UV wrapped, like what we did with the plane. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some text on that image, and we have to understand that in order to orient it properly in the scene, we might try something and it doesn't quite look right. So do a save as and make sure you're not just changing the original. Now, you can grab a copy of this and put it on your H drive and work with it. That would be the best version. Now, an easier way to find this, I put a copy of them out here in the following folder, is if you go on Game Programming and look under Art and 3D. I've actually got a folder here called Army Materials Tutorial. So let's click on this. And in here, I've actually dumped the textures that you might want to use. The Jeep has got two versions out there. And if I were to touch W for Willys, because they used to call Jeeps Willys, I'm going to move my head over here in the corner. And I just want to point out the differences between these two versions here. Right? One of them has been just a regular Jeep layout over here, and the other one looks like it's been kind of like in a fire. They both work. So this is where you could use a copy rather than an instance of a material. If I jump into the Army compound scene, and this is a version I've been playing with. Got an environment map here that changes the color a little bit. I'm going to touch P to get out of it being locked into camera mode. And I want to zoom in on one of these Jeeps here. I'm going to hold down Shift. Actually, I'm going to do W for select and move. W first. And then with our Jeep selected, if I hold down the Shift key when I do a drag here, I'm going to do a copy. Now notice I didn't bring the front wheels, and that's fine because this is going to be a burnt out version of one. I'm going to call this one junked. This will be a junked Jeep. I also didn't grab the windshield. You'll notice the windshield's not here. So in order for this to kind of look like it's being towed or otherwise moved around, again, I can move it, but without Shift, it's just going to move it. So now it can kind of look like it's being towed. Let's look at the materials that are being used there. So we're going to touch M on the keyboard. And in our scene, so we can navigate through the list that's along the side here. And what we want to do is go down to where we have scene materials. These are the scene materials by the names that they've been named by the creator of the scene. And one of the things I'm looking for here is a Jeep material. Since I don't see it, I'm just going to come up here and type in the word Jeep and hopefully find it. There it is. There's the Jeep body as well as the Jeep itself. If I pull out Jeep, which is a multi-sub object, I'll probably see it's using. Okay, now here's where let me stay focused here. It's probably got two different versions. It's got the Jeep itself and then the glass for the front. I'm just going to actually make a copy of this thing, not an instance, because remember, an instance would act like this. If you change one, they both change. But a copy, if you change one, the other one stays the same. So make sure you're using a copy. So now that I have a copy of it, unfortunately, it ended up in kind of a messy state here where I dumped it. You'll notice that up here on the Jeep body, it's called standard, it's got a bitmap here. Now to look at the properties on this, I can double click on it. Let's maximize my viewport so we can see it better. And you'll notice that when a node is highlighted, it's got these dotted lines around it. These dotted lines indicate that what's going on is the properties window on the side over here is related to the node that's been highlighted right there. And if I look here, it's got this thing that says where it's looking. Now, if I click on this dialog box, it brings me to the area where it was. In fact, there it is. That's the image file right there. Here's a trick. When I get to the file, I could change it. I'll touch W on the keyboard to help me find it. There it is. I'm going to change this to Willie's Scorched, right? If I do open, this is what Oswin was doing. I've now got an instance that lets me have just one Scorched. So now I've got this. Here's where I need to be careful where my selection is. Because if I try to assign this particular box to my scene, I can't do it. If you notice up here, the option to assign that to a selection isn't really going to necessarily work. I'm surprised that worked. Normally it would say you got to click on the main node. So that's exactly right. As long as I know I've got my Jeep selected, I can use the button above my head here to make the assignment. I believe the shortcut there is A for assign. And I'm going to replace it. And actually I need to rename this as well. Because I'm working on this material, before I sign it, I should make sure I actually get this version called something different, like burnt up Jeep. Instead of Jeep body, I'm going to call this Jeep junk. There we go. So now I got Jeep junked. So I'm clear I've got a separate name there. And now if I want to assign this to my selection, I'll do replace it, say okay. Let me drop down, and I'm hoping, yep, I only did the one Jeep. I didn't do them both. So let's zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to click on the icon over here that says zoom into my selection. And I can see now I've got two different materials. I've got a material that's scorched on this beat up one. And I'm going to use my middle mouse button to pan over, and I got my standard one. Yeah. So apparently they both got the same serial number or whatever on the side. That's probably a snafu, but that's okay. Remember, this is your scene. You can tweak this any way you want. Now, what if you wanted to actually customize this a little bit more so it actually had, for example, your name on it somewhere? So let's think about what this image looks like. If we found the number here and we painted over it, we could change what shows up in the scene. And you can do that with paint. It'd be a little bit less finesse than doing it with Photoshop, but it can be done. So let's go into File Explorer for a minute, get ourselves to that area. So I'm going to go back to the original one here called Willie's. And I'm going to right click on it and notice the pop-up menu here. One of them is Edit. The other thing you'll see here is Open. Now, Open might open it with the program that you want or don't. So the trick is hold down Shift and then right click on this. And then you'll notice it says Open With, which lets you pick which file you're going to open it in. And if you want to do this in the simplest format, just open it in Paint. So the window opened up on the other side here. I'll bring it over for us. Here's the ID numbers we're looking at. So there's one number. If we wanted to change what shows up on a Jeep, we could get in here. I'm just going to zoom in on that area. Page scroll down. Notice the font is a stencily font, and it's white on whatever this color gray is. So one way to do this would be to use the text tool. Make sure you set your color to the color that you want. Now, white's a pretty safe bet here, but remember you could use the eyedropper tool to match it. So we're going to want our primary color to be white. Secondary color won't matter because I'm going to do this text operation transparently. So I've got it set as transparent. If I want to make it opaque, then what I want to do is set my second color. Remember I referred to the eyedrop tool. You can use the eyedrop tool to pick up the color. Edit colors. There we go. We can float ourselves over. I guess I can't do that in the midst of an operation. Let's set my secondary color first. Edit colors. All right, eyedropper tool. There it is. Click. Now I've got these in the wrong order. I want my secondary color to be there. Clicking on the color. All right, secondary mouse button. There we go. Primary mouse button. Set to white. Good. Now it's going to be white on that color. Now this is going to be a little more solid than the background. It's not kind of a gradient in the background. But I realized in retrospect that I probably shouldn't do transparent. I should probably do solid like this. So now what if I want to say something different? Now, Arial font doesn't match. I happen to know from experience that stencil is actually a font I can grab. So I'm in stencil font. If I were to type in something like Judged, I could actually put my name on that Jeep. So the size looks like it's a little bit big. So before I move on from here, I'm going to lower my font to a smaller size. And I'm going to use the move tool to kind of locate it a little bit more in line with where I think that should be. And when I click off, ooh, that looks horrible. I can undo, repeat that process. I want to keep my text pretty much in this area here. It restored itself to the original font. There's stencil. There we go. As long as my box is big enough, I can deal with that. Yes, it's more pixelated. Yeah, it's a little bit going to be uneven, but now what you're going to do is save as. Now you won't be able to save this on the iDrive like I'm about to. You'll have to save your version on your H drive. Okay. If I wanted to change the color of the star while I'm in here, I can do so. This one's going to have now a yellow star. Oof. Not exactly. It's going to have a yucky star. Let's grab a brush. Point here isn't like my lack of art skills. The point here is to show you how to customize this. This is like I broke in there and I just like totally did graffiti all over it. Now, we have talked a little bit about this, but all four wheels look like this. So if I change the color of the hub on this, let's see, this is the one that's been kind of like vandalized or whatever. So let's just black out this. It's not a gradient at all. It's just going to look like some big ugly black hub in the middle of all four tires, just for illustrative purposes. There is the headlight. Let's turn the headlight into a broken headlight. Hey, this is your world. Have fun with it. Experiment. Come up with something that looks a little different. Now both headlights are going to be broken in the same way, so I don't know if anyone's ever going to appreciate the little fine details that. And if you wanted to end up remapping this so that you've got one headlight looking a little bit different, you could. It almost looks like a brush guard, but it's fine. It's been customized. So I've got something on the front. All four wheels, the star, and my name are all in there. Let's save the judged version. And in the material editor again. Wow, the render is acting a little slow. Let me zoom in on my selection here. So now I'm going to change this to the judged version. M for material editor. Come back into that same node. This should be kind of be a review. Double click on the, actually it's just a single click on this. And if I touch W, I can look at the names and I can find, well, I thought I could find it. Did I not save it? Hey, this is real world. Where'd my paint go? There it is. Did I not save this thing yet? I'm going to do a save as. Oh, I'm in the middle of my save as. Is that what I am? Yeah, I'm in the middle of my save as. Sorry, I'm a little confused here. Let me close out of this dialog box and make sure I'm in my paint. Very good. Willie's judged. Army tutorial saved. Yep. Now I know it's saved. Drop that down. Willie's. Maybe I need to do a refresh in here. Go up a file. Come back in. Oh, that's tutorial files. All right. Because I saved it in a different area, I'm going to need to add a path to it, but that's fine. Game programming, art, A for art, 3 for 3D, and then Army materials tutorial. That's where I'm going to save it. Call it Willie's Judged. There we go. Now it's in the area that I've been pointing. It's the problem with having multiple versions of files. And we'll save this out as a JPEG just like it was doing before. There it is. So now that this version's on there, if I take a look, I don't even have to do anything because it was a live material I changed. I come back in here and I can see my name is on the object. The star, which interestingly enough appears here more than once, and all three wheels have been blacked out. Every star has been changed. My name's on both sides of the Jeep. It's been judged. So that was perhaps a less smooth demo than you'd find on YouTube, but I'm a teacher, not a YouTuber, so hopefully it's helping to have these examples that you can replay. I'll put this demo up for you and have fun. Customize your scene.